So Tommy Christopher wrote this brilliant article for Mediaite. It says Bernie Sanders flips off black voters on his way out the door. Yeah. Okay. So I saw this and I was really shocked because I watched the final interview, or kind of his final speech before the convention, I guess, that he had online yesterday, I believe. And I didn't see him flip anybody off. I missed that part of the speech. So let's get into this. On Thursday night, Bernie Sanders continued his ongoing mission to alienate people who once had a genuine admiration and respect for him. Okay. Didn't we just talk about yesterday how his favorability ratings are still higher than Hillary Clinton's? And she's the presumptive nominee. So, we'll continue here. It took him 10 full minutes to get to it, but here's the important part, where Sanders says he'll start helping her beat Donald Trump when he feels like it. Whenever he feels like it. Maybe after he's chosen some of the items off the wine list for Hillary. So let's take a look at what this moron's talking about. This is the clip he's referring to.
Evidence believes that climate change is a hoax. The major political task that together we face in the next 5 months is to make certain that Donald Trump is defeated, and defeated badly. And I personally intend to begin my role in that process in a very short period of time. But defeating Donald Trump cannot be our only goal. We must continue our grassroots effort to create the America that we know we can become. And we must take that energy into the Democratic National Convention on July 25th in Philadelphia, where we will have more than 1,900 delegates. I recently had the opportunity to meet with Secretary Clinton and discuss some of the very important issues facing our country and the Democratic Party. It is no secret that Secretary Clinton and I have strong disagreements on some very, very important issues. It is also true that our views are quite close on others. I look forward in the coming weeks to continued discussion between the two campaigns to make certain that your voices are heard and that the Democratic Party passes the most progressive platform in its history, and that Democrats actually fight for that agenda. I also look forward to working with Secretary Clinton to transform the Democratic Party so that it becomes a party of working people and young people.
So, what I took from that video, of course, as a Bernie supporter, is that he simply is just trying to go to the convention. He never once did he mention superdelegates, trying to flip superdelegates. Never once did he say trying to work for Donald Trump. What he's saying is to get into the platform of the Democratic Party things that a majority of people agree with. Bernie Sanders' message is a message that a majority of Americans actually agree with. It's something that is quite rare in the current political scene. So he has a quote here. So he says, well, so let's be clear. Bernie Sanders is going to delay getting into the fight against Donald Trump, which he addressed how bad Donald Trump was. He addressed how you need to defeat Donald Trump. So he's not working for Donald Trump. He is fighting against Donald Trump here. He literally was fighting against Donald Trump. So he can get a few good ideas, a few iffy ideas, and a few bad ideas. I like how he mentions 0 ideas that Bernie Sanders says, which he wouldn't know from being a Hillary supporter what an idea is. Oh, what an asshole. So he says, so he goes on to say, get these ideas into a document, the Democratic Party platform, a document that is about as useful as a roll of Charmin. Then why are you making a big deal out of it? If it means nothing, let him have the platform. So then he goes on, but for good measure, he just wants to get rid of superdelegates and open up the primaries, which will work out great for Bernie Sanders from a year ago, but which will suck the first time Democrats have to run a primary against incumbent Republican president, and Republican voters decide to vote in a Democratic primary just to mess with us. Brilliant! So he's literally arguing for superdelegates. That's what this guy's arguing for. Now, he has a good point, actually. Because if a Republican voted in a Democratic primary, and then the Republicans had this great plan to vote him in, a Republican would really win a Democratic primary when the entire Democratic Party is voting for the real Democrat. Because not every Republican is going to come over and vote. So instead, Bernie will wait until he's good and ready to make a half-ass endorsement of Hillary Clinton that will only succeed in only a winning news cycle or two for Donald Trump, as he and the media rehash every attack he's made against her and every painstaking yank of the pliers it took to extract said half-ass endorsement. Why would he endorse somebody that he doesn't agree with? For somebody that voted for the Iraq War? For somebody that will, ironically, be anti-African American here in a few seconds. We'll get to that. Or, you know, a few years ago, she was. And let me tell you something. Even if Bernie comes out and says, I'm here to endorse Hillary Clinton, we have got to win. A large, maybe not a large majority, but a majority of Bernie Sanders supporters are actually going to vote Jill Stein. What Bernie Sanders supporters, they're not very eager to vote for Hillary Clinton because the two candidates are different. And he doesn't have to endorse anybody. So then he goes on, but there's still something even more revealing about Bernie's speech to supporters, because wrapped around those relevant 107 seconds was about 22 other minutes of Bernie boilerplate that nearly laid out his priorities. Throughout his campaign, Bernie and his supporters have continually insisted that if black voters would only stop and listen and give him a chance, they'd be dazzled by his downness and abandon their habitual support for Hillary. So in his speech Thursday night, here's what Bernie had for black voters. Now, listen to this, how racist Bernie Sanders is. He's sexist for staying in the race. Might as well call him racist too, right? All right, let's hear it.
That's what the trade union movement is about. That's what the civil rights movement is about. Having public schools in inner cities that are totally failing our children, where kids now stand a greater chance of ending up in jail than ending up with a college degree. We cannot have a president who insults Mexicans and Latinos, Muslims, women, and African Americans. We must end the disgrace of having more people in jail than any other country on earth and move toward real criminal justice reform at the federal, state, and local levels. It means that at every level, we continue the fight to make our society a nation of economic, social, racial, and environmental justice. It means that we can no longer ignore.
So he goes on after watching that clip, which most racist clip I've ever saw, right? That's it. Black people got tacked in onto a few lists of other things, and some lines about failing schools and criminal justice reform. Or to put it another way, what black voters could expect from a Rand Paul speech. Give me a break. Not a syllable about ending police brutality or racial profiling. Nothing about Voting Rights Act or any other Republican schemes to disenfranchise black voters, and those are just the easy ones. 56 seconds out of 23 minutes. And none of the bullet points he rushed up on his website when Black Lives Matter protesters hassled him almost a year ago. Yeah, black voters had Bernie all wrong, didn't they? All right. So we'll play a clip brought to you by C-SPAN of Hillary Clinton way back in '96. We'll see how good she is on black vote. She was campaigning for black votes back in '96. We'll see how better she is with minorities than Bernie Sanders in this clip.
Is to take back our streets from crime, gangs, and drugs. And we have actually been making progress on this count as a nation because of what local law enforcement officials are doing, because of what citizens and neighborhood patrols are doing. We're making some progress. Much of it is related to the initiative called community policing, because we have finally gotten more police officers on the street. That was one of the goals that the president had when he pushed the crime bill that was passed in 1994. He promised 100,000 police. We're moving in that direction, but we can see it already makes a difference. Because if we have more police interacting with people, having them on the streets, we can prevent crimes. We can prevent petty crimes from turning into something worse. But we also have to have an organized effort against gangs. Just as in a previous generation we had an organized effort against the mob. We need to take these people on. They are often connected to big drug cartels. They are not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel. And the president has asked the FBI to launch a very concerted effort against gangs everywhere.
So, super predator. You know, that's how you get the black vote. That's why African Americans like Hillary Clinton right there. They like being called super predator, didn't you know that? So, super predator, which is, you know, very commonly known as a racist term. Very commonly. And she just used it there. Then, you know, we saw earlier in this campaign, she kicked out a Black Lives Matter protester, I think it was. Or it was an African-American girl who brought in the Super Predator, Bring Them to Heel poster and kicked her out. Well, of course, that girl was kind of being a little loud. You know, she wasn't really giving Hillary a chance to respond to that. But so we'll see another great thing. On a radio station targeted towards black people, with music, this is according to The Atlantic, with music that most would consider connected to black culture, Clinton's comments looked for all the world like a textbook attempt at pandering from a black campaign that has been accused by young black people of doing just that. So she was on this morning show on Power 105.1. They asked her what she always carried with her. She said hot sauce.
They said no, she has to go.
What's something that you always carry with you?
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you getting information right now? Hot sauce. Hot sauce in my bag, swag?
That's us.
Really?
Yes.
Now listen, I
yes.
just want you to know people are going to see this and say, okay, she's pandering to black people.
Okay. Is it working?
Oh, you know,
No, seriously.
Oh my gosh. Now, what I find completely crazy is that, what's his name? Christopher. Tommy Christopher. Tommy Christopher thinks that it'd be better to overly pander. That is just, it was cringe. I saw the clip. It was cringeworthy. But Mr. Christopher thinks she's just a champion of the African Americans. Now, is he saying that what Bernie said, the 20-minute speech, wasn't geared towards black people? When he talks about health care for all? I think that's part of Bernie's appeal, because he doesn't, he says that he breaks everybody. What's he say? Alienate people. He says Bernie alienates people. I thought he always talks about bringing people together. He always talks about healthcare for all people, free college for all people. He doesn't say free college for just black people. Or free college for just white people, I should say. But then, not only, now this isn't Tommy Christopher, but a reporter asked Bernie recently if he was sexist for staying in the race against Hillary. Not only is he sexist, but he's racist now, folks. Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is racist. Tommy Christopher.